Hello guys, and welcome to an episode of Yay or Nay. Today I'm going to talk about Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. I have done a review on Grace of Kings, which I'll put up here, and if you want you can go check that out. Now let's talk about the plot. Wall of Storms resumes the story of the Dandelion Dynasty and Kunigaru about 6 years after Kuni has become the emperor. And it focuses on a new generation of characters. Characters from Grace of Kings do make appearances and are important to the storyline, but the focus is definitely on Kuni's children and a few new characters that are introduced in this book. The story spans about 2 decades of time, and it is set on 2 different timelines, one following the past and one following the present. And there is a lot of courtly intrigue and political scheming and your regular war and battle scenes. So it's a very intense story, and if you liked Grace of Kings you will definitely not be disappointed in how the story progresses in this book. Now let's talk about the prose. I think Ken Liu is a masterful tension builder. He plays a lot with audience expectations. Just as you are thinking that the story is following a certain kind of trope, he manages to subvert your expectations in a very organic way so that it doesn't feel forced and the progress feels very natural. And once you think about the result, you go like, okay, I can see that, even if you were expecting something a little different. I took a lot of notes when I read this and theorized all the possible outcomes, and sometimes I managed to predict what was going to happen, but many times the story went in a direction that I was not anticipating, and I really enjoyed that. Next pro I want to talk about is the characters. There are some new characters introduced in this book, and there are a lot of cool female characters who range from nobles to scholars to engineers to soldiers, and it is very wonderful. And even the minor characters get a chance to shine. And I also liked the fact that none of the characters were completely black and white. You will find that some characters get redemptions in very unexpected places, which was really nice. Ken Liu doesn't fall into the trap of making characters be completely black and white, being either evil or good. And finally, I want to talk about the themes that this book explores. Ken Liu touches a lot on privilege and class, and this book has a lot of poignant speeches about the class divide and how poverty affects those who are born into a lower class and have to struggle to live. He also talks a lot about prejudice and morality and touches on a kind of us versus them double standard, how we are quick to judge those whom we deem are not our peers, who are not on the same moral level or cultural level or technological level as us. Next up, let's talk about cons, and there are not many. Actually, the only con I can come up with was that a few characters were a bit underutilized. I think if they would have had a bit of a more prominent role and were on page a bit more, they would have been more effective dramatically. And that is pretty much the only con I have with this book. I really enjoyed it. My overall thoughts are that while I felt that Grace of Kings was a little bit off with the pacing and maybe had a bit too many point of view characters, I think that Liu was kind of experimenting different storytelling methods with that book, which he has perfected in this one. And I think that Wall of Storms is a very tightly written and balanced narrative and story, and it is truly a worthy successor to Grace of Kings. And I think that it improves on those building blocks that were laid out in Grace of Kings and manages to lift this series up into the hall of the great books of science fiction and fantasy. And I really adore this book for it. So this book is a definite yay, and I would very much want every one of you to read it. This has been my episode of Yay or Nay for The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!